Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pool Pro Podcast. I'm here with Rob Stewart. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Michelle.
And everybody out there. We have a special surprise for you today. It's going to be all like old home week. It's all nostalgic. Woohoo! We've got a special guest today that we're very excited to have back on the program. Welcome, Dave Rockwell. Hey, Dave.
How's it going, guys?
Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Since the last time I spoke with Dave on this podcast, he's moved across country to Florida.
Yep.
He's got his own business selling ozone systems, way more than he did before, and he's just going gangbusters doing that. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Well, I sort of semi-retired, but couldn't handle the boredom, and I've been working with ozone for 25 years. It's something I know, and it's still something that is so underutilized in our industry that I've been able to create a company. I've been able to curate a system that really solves a lot of the problems that we had with our older systems in terms of high maintenance and yearly annual rebuilds and expense. And it's a very reliable system. It puts a lot of ozone in the water, and I've got a lot of happy customers right now with it.
That's awesome.
So when your systems, Dave, are they CD generators or are they UV generators?
It's a type of corona discharge that it's called the plasma. And there were companies out there that failed that had plasma technology. It's not a reflection on the technology; it's the individual companies. But the unit that I have, plasma technology, is a form of corona discharge, but instead of a random electrical charge zapping through a bottle brush, it's more like two plates with a plate in the middle that produces a uniform glow. So they operate at a lot lower temperature. They are just a lot more efficient. They make a lot higher concentration of ozone, which as a gas, the higher the concentration, the more of it you get dissolved in the water. And so even with the same amount of ozone, like 15 or 25 grams of ozone, we're getting up to 50% more ozone actually dissolved into the water from the systems that I've been using in the past.
Now, are you talking about your corona discharge system versus another corona discharge? Or are you talking about corona
versus other
discharge
ones that are out there? Yes.
over the UV? Because by
Well,
default, the UV
UV
produces
ozone
less.
is great if you have like a little fish tank, but if you're actually trying to treat a spa or a pool, two things: they don't make enough ozone to really matter, and they don't make it at a high enough concentration to get even the little that they make dissolved into the water.
And now, just as a spoiler alert, what is the most common ozone producer or ozone generator used in, say, residential pools?
Some form of corona discharge is there are still UV systems out there. They're still touted as that they do something, but a good rule of thumb for them is that if they don't tell you how much ozone they're making and at what concentration, they either don't know or they're ashamed at how low their number is.
I see. Okay. Gotcha.
And the other rule of thumb is that a lot of these, like the little kind of UV light bulb in a box units, they don't use a Mozzie injector, but they'll run a tube right to the suction side of the pump, which I've never been able to look at that as a good idea. If you're creating cavitation in the pump, which is bad for the pump, you're introducing air and potentially gaseous ozone into your filter, which is not a good thing.
Gotcha.
And then you're sending bubbles back to the pool. Generally, these units don't cause too much damage because they don't make enough ozone. If they don't make enough ozone to damage the seal on your pump within a couple of weeks, they're not doing anything in the pool water in terms of sanitizing the pool either.
I see. Okay. Because the ones that I normally see in residential backyards, it's usually got the tube like you were describing, but it's plumbed in between the pump and the filter. So it would be on the pressure side. And I'm not sure. I mean, they use a Venturi. It goes into a Venturi, not into the raw pipe.
Yeah, a Venturi. And ozone, I don't care what kind of ozone you're using. Every ozone generator, a Mazy injector is the only appropriate way to introduce ozone into a pool.
Okay.
I would say that, 99% of the time. And the location of the Mazy should always be the last piece of equipment before you send everything back to the pool. Unless you have chemical feeds, you can introduce the chemical injection points downstream from the Mazy, but always you should be introducing the ozone after all of your pool equipment. Let it dissolve in the pool. And then
So
the other
the
thing,
traditional filter heat treat.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Dave, how many of these systems have you been installing? And have you, I know I actually visited one of them with you when I went to the Florida show a couple years ago. We went to the backyard.
Don't tell her then. Don't tell her. She's just trying to cut your market now. She's going to open up her own competitive shop and take over the Ozone network.
I know. But it was cool because it was cool to see it in action. The way, when we did the little tour back there, it was kind of cool. And so, I know that people don't believe me when I say that your dog can drink from the pool and then nobody's going to get harmed. Kind of.
My cats used to drink from my ozone pool. I mean, they wouldn't go near water until I put my ozone system on it, and then all of a sudden I noticed they're hanging out at the edge of the pool, almost falling in, trying to get a drink of it. So there's something about the dissolved oxygen that ozone leaves in the water that the cats loved it.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Rob?
No. I mean, my dogs drink out of the pool all the time, but I just figured it was because they were dumb.
Dogs aren't as discerning as cats usually.
Yeah, no, this is true. This is true.
And I heard you've also become a CPO certification instructor since the last time we did a podcast.
I started teaching CPO during COVID. But the thing with the CPO and me is that the administrative part of the job has always been my weak spot. I've never enjoyed that very much. And so out here in Florida, I've hooked up with Lauren Broom, who a lot of you guys all know her, and she's well known throughout the country. She does all the administrative stuff, so I just show up, teach for a couple of days, and then go on about my business. And I've been having a ball with it.
Nice.
When I first moved to Florida, I have to admit that I was a little concerned with the level of professionalism in our industry down here, from what I saw. And now getting to teach these guys, there's a lot of people that really want to learn and really want to do better. I mean, I'm very heartened by what I'm seeing in terms of there are people that really want to learn, want to get better. And for all of its good and bad points, the CPO program gives the instructor an opportunity to impress on guys the tremendous responsibility that they're taking on when they start servicing someone's pool. I mean, their health, their family's health, their family's safety. You're the expert. They're putting it in your hands. And a pool represents one of the highest investments on the property. So they're also putting one of their largest investments in your hands. And so it really is important that someone who takes on the task of servicing a pool really know what they're doing, really be professional. And once they do, the other thing about sitting through a class like that and spending the money and all that, you walk out of there hopefully saying, somebody's going to pay me for having done all this. I'm going to charge more. I'm going to prove to people that I know more, that I deserve more than the average pirate driving around town. Let those guys knock each other over the head for nickels and dimes. Let the professionals make some real money.
Yeah, I see a lot of posts and stuff like that on Facebook. I'm in a lot of the pool groups and stuff.
So am I.
And a lot of the guys now, Florida is a really saturated market as far as instructors go,
Yes.
which always amazes me that you guys have so many instructors and so many classes that are working. Um, because I'm in a market where we hardly have any instructors, and it's a struggle to get that classroom filled. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're able to fill those classes. And yeah, I understand Lauren does a fantastic job as far as the advertising and stuff like that goes. So that's a really big boom. Um, but yeah, down in Florida, man, I see these posts and it's like everybody is trying to race to the bottom, and it's like monthly
Yeah.
service, $75. It's like, how? Yeah, how? I won't even get out of bed for $75.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you break that down. That's 4 visits a month.
Yeah.
And so you got to divide that by 4, and you've got, all of your other expenses have to come out of the top of that. It's like literally costing you money to service a pool in this day and age at those kind of rates.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and half of that visit is going to be chemicals,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of these guys servicing pools, they include the chemicals in their price. I
Well, a
tried
lot of
doing that and I
a lot of
wasn't
those
sure.
loss leader, the really low budget ones, they don't disclose how much is really not included in that price, and so they try and make it back by nickel and diming the customer. And I've never been a fan of that. I don't think that's a pathway to happy customers. Is like when
Yeah,
they've
you and me
committed to
both.
one rate and that they never pay that rate that they committed to. It's always more for this or that or whatever. I think getting a higher level of clientele and charging them a fair rate for a more all-inclusive service is easier on you and it's easier on them. Definitely easier on your bookkeeping, not having to keep track of every little nickel and dime that you have to charge them for.
Yeah, well, when I tried to do my service with chemicals included, the first thing I found out, I was going to this one pool and I was always adding more chemicals every week, and it turned out it's like, well, I'm not paying for the chemicals, so every time I vacuum on waste, top it up, and then you come in the next day and rebalance it. It's like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. So that had to stop. I mean, like,
Yeah,
pardon the expression, screwing me over to try and save yourself, that doesn't work.
yeah.
So
And
we
I
try to be
think too,
fair.
yeah, I think too, the other thing that people make a mistake on is they assume that everybody buys based on price. Not everybody buys based on price. If you make a customer happy and provide great value and you charge a higher price, they're going to be happy. You cannot make the assumption that every single person buys based on price. If you're going
You
Right.
out
would
there
be
like you
surprised in
guys,
the pool industry. In the pool industry, I think a lot of people buy on price.
yeah, but I
Um,
know a lot of pool guys that are charging top of their area, and they have lots of customers. It's because they provide great value. They are trustworthy. You too, Rob. You're very trustworthy. Your customers find you. They know that they can count on you. You're not going to, blow smoke up their butts. And so I just feel like you have to make customers happy first, and then you can probably charge what you're worth. I mean, to a certain degree. I'm not saying you have to, if you charge 3 times what everybody else is charging, you're going to get customers that way. But I'm just telling you, I know lots of pool service guys who are charging the most expensive in their market, and they still have lots of really happy customers because they are worth it.
Well, when
well,
we were talking about the level of education and professionalism among the pool uh, professionals or pool service people, um, and the CPO program kind of elevating the level of professionalism. Another thing that's really appalling is how little people know about their own pools, how little they understand what they should have a right to expect from a pool professional. And so the industry, in addition to educating ourselves, I would like to see us do a better job of educating consumers. Um, for instance, if you ask the average person that owns a backyard pool, the builder built a shower right next to your pool. What's it for? Oh, it's for washing the chlorine smell off after we get out. No, it's so that you can go into your pool clean and not create the chloramines that make you smell bad after you get out. So
Yeah, but that's okay because they just used my chemicals up, and Rob takes care of that. So
yeah.
I mean, you could wash it off too. Take a shower afterwards, fine, but take a shower before
Yeah.
you go in also.
But I think,
yeah, so
having people that are more educated, their expectations are higher, but they also appreciate a professional service person who's able to meet those needs. And actually, those are the kind of customers I enjoyed the most. The guys that were shopping for price, I generally didn't even return the phone call. Somebody who was educated and I could have an intelligent discussion with and make them a partner in how we're going to manage their pool and their family's health and their asset. Those are the people I wanted to work for.
yeah, we have got quite a few people, and I always attribute it to a Nissan. I for some reason I have a lot of car parables, and people treat their swimming pool kind of like a set of golf clubs. Oh, well, we're not going to use it for a month, so we'll just turn the switch off, right? And then if we're going to have a pool party, we'll turn the switch back on. And it's like, well, it doesn't work like that. And Michelle, what you were saying about, I don't think a lot of people buy, for price. Swimming pools are treated by consumers in a very disrespectful manner, in the sense that they'll buy like a $15,000 Toyota car and insist that they have to take it to the dealership for oil changes. But when it comes to their $70,000 or $80,000 pool that they just bought, oh no, it's okay, I got it. Right? Even though they have zero knowledge of what they're doing.
Yeah.
We get phone calls all the time. It's like, oh yeah, the little black thing is making a lot of noise. Okay, can you narrow it down just a wee bit more? And we've had Pool 101 is I call it the Pool 101 class for homeowners, and I've been offering that class for 5 years, and I've had one person actually take it, and I felt so bad about charging that one person. I actually refunded their money after the class. And I said, hey, no, you know what? This is on me. You wanted to learn this stuff. If we had had a full class, it would have been a different story. But just like Dave says, I'm all about educating the consumer, making sure they understand at least the basics so that they can interact with the pool guy and say, hey, listen, is this normal or is that normal?
Makes sense. I think the key here, the kind of takeaway that I got from this discussion is just the fact that, what kind of help are you providing to the industry in your area if all you do is care about undercutting the next guy? If you just keep making the price go lower and lower and lower and lower, and you're all trying to fight for that, you're only doing a disservice to the entire industry in your area. That's what I'm saying. I know that there's a lot of areas that are very saturated with pool service, but you have to stand out in some way. You have to stand out either by providing the best service that there is in your area, or adding something on, or answering the phone when they call, or responding to emails and text messages. Whatever your little thing is, it's going to make you stand out. You have to have something like that. And your customers are willing to pay, a little bit more for that than not being able to get a hold of somebody when they really need someone, or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, backup support and customer service are key things, especially nowadays. Consumers are educated on those topics. And my thing is, I don't care what time of night it is. If I'm awake and my phone goes off, I'm going to answer that text message or that email, and it's scary / surprising how many people say, oh my God, I didn't expect an answer back. Right. And it's like, well, then you're dealing with the wrong people to begin with.
Yep. Agreed. So, Dave, I wanted to ask you only because I've heard some things in the background and heard some things about some things that are being taught in the industry in regards to ozone. So I'm not trying to go back that topic necessarily, but I just wanted you to be able to say, is there anything that you've been hearing recently, whether it be on Facebook or just people that are talking to you in different areas that have said things about ozone that are absolutely factually incorrect?
Well, the biggest, I think, kind of misunderstanding about ozone and its effectiveness and your ability to use it in a pool comes from a general misunderstanding of the terms oxidizer, sanitizer, and disinfectant. I have a sheet from the CDC that talks, it's more talking about surface cleaning, but it applies to water as well. And it breaks it down in levels. There's cleaning, which is, just using soaps and cleaning a surface, which we do in a pool by cleaning the tile and keeping the things clean around the pool area, keeping the filter cartridges clean. But then sanitizing and disinfecting. Sanitizing is the process of removing harmful pathogens from the water. Disinfected water means that there are no harmful pathogens in it. And we measure that by CT value, which is the concentration of sanitizer versus the time it's in contact with something and how long it takes to kill it. The worst thing to kill is Cryptosporidium. It takes chlorine a long, long time to kill it. But so chlorine, bromine, and ozone all sanitize water and are capable of completely disinfecting water. They do it by means of oxidation. Oxidation is basically like burning up, breaking down cell walls, destroying living organisms or other harmful contaminants in the water. And this is where ozone is anywhere from hundreds to thousands of times stronger as an oxidizer than chlorine or bromine. So ozone is absolutely capable of disinfecting a pool, and it's capable of doing it faster and more effectively than chlorine. It not only kills pathogens, it doesn't create harmful byproducts, and it oxidizes things that chlorine doesn't touch. The pools, and especially outdoor pools, are an open environment. And so pesticides, fertilizers, whatever that stuff is they're spraying in trails and in the sky, all end up in the pool. And ozone is able to destroy it gets rid of glyphosate, it gets rid of nitrogen-based compounds, fertilizers, and it doesn't create any harmful disinfection byproducts. So while that's all true, the limitation ozone has is it has a very short half-life. Within anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours, the ozone that you put in the pool is gone. But that being said, if the pump is constantly running and you're replenishing that ozone, then I wouldn't, I don't call it a residual of ozone, but if you've got more ozone than you have stuff that it's required, that require oxidation, you have dissolved ozone in the water and you have some protection against bather to bather transmission of disease.
Now, in most jurisdictions, Dave, you still have to have a chlorine residual with ozone. Like I understand that ozone does a lot of the work,
On
but you have
commercial
to have
pools,
something
that's
to show
true.
the health department my water's safe.
Yeah.
Do you think that we'll ever get past that? Or would they have to start saying, you know what, you can't use these Mickey Mouse systems, you have to use a real system properly hooked up before we can get past that chlorine residual part?
New South Wales in Australia has gone to, as I understand it, I read it somewhere, has gone to allowing ORP to be the determining factor of whether the water is sanitized or not. It doesn't go by a ppm test, but actually, if you have above a certain ORP, usually high 600s, low. If you have water above 650 ORP, for the most part, a living organism can't survive in it. You've got clean water.
Excluding swimmers, by the way. I just want to go on.
Well, the swimmers, yeah, we're not oxidizing swimmers, fortunately. But that when there's swimmers in the water, they're constantly reintroducing contaminants, and so the ozone is getting used up as it. And it's true of chlorine. Everything that's true in terms of sanitizing, oxidizing that applies to chlorine also applies to ozone. Both good and bad, except for the bad that ozone doesn't have is that it doesn't create harmful byproducts.
Right. Now, your pool in your backyard, do you use ORP? Or do you
Yes.
just say, I know my stuff works and that's good enough for me?
I don't like not having numbers. I don't like not knowing. Here's another, kind of fun fact about ozone, chlorine, and bromine. An accurate DPD test kit, like the Taylor FAS powder DPD test
Right.
kit, measures bromine, chlorine, or ozone without prejudice. In other words, if there's a little bit of dissolved ozone in the water, most of my pools have somewhere between 0.2 and a half a part per million of ozone in the water at a given time.
Okay.
And that's measurable by a DPD test kit.
So you're talking about the FAS DPD though, not the regular DPD test kit?
A regular DPD will pick it up, but it has to be a lot more ozone.
I see. Okay.
I had a spa one time. I was trying to. I brought a potential customer to look at one of my installations, and the homeowner there would every afternoon after he got off work would get into his spa. So he ran his pool in spa mode for about 3 hours every afternoon, and I showed up during that cycle, and I was trying to show the potential buyer that there was no chlorine in this pool, and I got a bright red DPD reading, and it was all ozone. I called the pool guy and I said, "Hey, what gives? Would you dump a bunch of chlorine in the spa?" And he's like, "No, I haven't put any chlorine in that pool in 3 weeks."
Gotcha.
And so it will read. So, and my system, I call myself Live Chlorine Free, but a more accurate way to describe it would be Live Chloramine Free.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
I have as part of my system a chemical feed system that I can control the dosages, and we microdose. Really, a Rollichem or a Stenner microdoses the chlorine into the pool. They somewhere between 3 and 4 ounces a minute is how much chlorine that they're putting in the water. And so by using that ORP reading, if the ozone, when there's no bathers in the water, it's not uncommon to walk up to one of my pools and see ORPs in the high 7s to mid 800 range with ozone alone.
Okay.
But that reading is very volatile when people jump in the water and bather waste starts becoming a factor. And
Gotcha.
so in the case of a big pool party, they may use up all the ozone. Well, I don't want an unprotected pool. I'm not going to trade one, unhealthy thing with chloramines for another unhealthy thing, potential pathogens in the water. So my systems add just that little bit of chlorine to the water when the ORP demand is there. And
I see. Okay.
So we measure, the pool man still comes every week and measures the parts per million, but there's a constant monitoring of the water, the pool water, which is read by the chemical dosing system. And then my ozone generator has a second ORP reader on it, or probe, that reads the ozone coming out of the contact tank, the ozonated water coming out of the contact tank, the dissolved ozone in the water. And consistently, we're in the mid 900s for the water coming out of that contact tank. So I know the really clean water that's going in the pool, I have a number for that. And after that has been depleted, I have a reading for the water coming back into the system. So at any given time, any given moment in time, you can walk up to my system and go, look in 2 spots and go, yep, that water's perfect.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's the way I would have to be too, because again, I'm based on numbers. I hate when people say, "Oh yeah, all my numbers are perfect." Well, perfect for you maybe. What are they? Right? Now, are you strictly ozone, or do you dabble with AOP? Do you think you'll ever get into AOP?
Well, if you have an ozone generator, you are making ORP. A lot of people don't understand that. But when you make ozone, there are a series of secondary reactions that continue to happen that create hydroxyl radicals. Now, I was taught a long time ago that ozone is not pH dependent. And there's, for the most part, that's true at the pool, the fluctuation of ranges that we have in a swimming pool. But at about the mid sevens on the pH scale, you are making not only ozone, but in that secondary reactions, you're making hydroxyl radicals, and it's about equilibrium, about 50-50. Now, in water treatment, wastewater treatment, if they want to use AOP as their predominant, because it is much more highly reactive oxidizer even than ozone. If you raise that pH to 8 or 9 or 10, your ozone becomes mostly hydroxyl radicals. And so, in answer to your question, my way of thinking is that you're already doing that. You can control a little bit how much hydroxyl radicals you make by where you keep your pH. If you keep it at the higher end of the spectrum, like around 7.8, your ozone isn't going to last as long in the water because it's turning into hydroxyl radicals and disappearing. At the lower end of the pH scale, 7.2 to 7.3, 7.4, your ozone lasts a little bit longer in the water because that conversion isn't happening as fast. But in terms of the AOP, the way it's marketed is you make a tiny amount of ozone, and you destroy it with a UV light, and that makes hydroxyl radicals. We had a really great guest that Michelle found in the first iteration of our podcast. Greg Reinecke is a water treatment expert, and he talked about these little devices that are sold as AOP units for swimming pools, and he says, do you want to treat the water in the pool, or do you want to treat a few drops of sweat that are passing through on it? And he goes, that's really what these smaller units are doing. They're treating this the same way when you're not making enough ozone. If you're not making enough ozone and then destroying it enough to make hydroxyl radicals in sufficient amount, then you really you spent thousands of dollars on nothing.
Gotcha.
But
so then AOP, no is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think AOP is really better for drinking water and wastewater.
Okay.
As opposed to pool water, which is recirculating, being recontaminated. Another way, we had a pool that we could not have any dissolved ozone in the water. So this was a pool I did with Dave Penton back years ago in Brentwood, California. They were afraid of that there was going to be dissolved ozone in the water, and that was going to harm some stainless steel features in there. And so they put a UV light after the ozone generator so that they could destroy the ozone right away. Well, we went from ozone readings of in the 700 to 800 range. When they turned that UV light on, the ORP would plummet down to like 400. So it's like you create those hydroxyl radicals, they oxidize everything that they're capable of oxidizing, but there's nothing else in the water. There's no oxidizing potential left in that water. So the only option to really make that water safe is to rechlorinate it.
Now, can you hook your ozone systems up to, like how, not to, I hate to mention brand names, but there's one company out there with what they call a sense and dispense. So it's got an ORP probe and a pH probe, and the ORP probe controls the sanitizer. So in most cases, a salt cell to add more sanitizer if the ORP starts to drop or if the pH starts to rise uncontrolled. Is there any way to hook the ozonator up to that sort of thing where it reduces the amount of ozone produced when it's not needed, but it produces more when it is? Lost your sound, Dave.
We lost your sound, Dave. We can't hear you. Something may have unplugged or something. Sometimes that happens. While he's figuring that out, the two words that I will never forget in this industry are cryptosporidium and hydroxyradical. That was a scientific paper that was submitted way back in the day when I did the World Aquatic Health Conference, when Tom Lachaki was kind of leading the research at that time as far as what papers got accepted to do a talk at the World Aquatic Health Conference. And hydroxyradical came up way back in the day, and I'm like, what in the world are they talking about? Because nobody had talked about hydroxyradicals before that, as far as the general industry. So those are the two words I'll never forget. So I love the fact that Dave said that. And David, showing that you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I thought you'd come back there.
You're good now. You're good. Are you talk? Dave, I think you're good. Oh, I just unmuted you and then you muted again.
There you go.
Now you're good. Nope, now I still can't hear you.
Yeah, still no sound.
It says...
Sorry, Dave, your 36 minutes is up, and we've cut your mic. Michelle's actually, she's evil. She's doing this on purpose. I swear.
I swear to you, it was not me. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, for some reason, it shows that his not muted, but he's not able to talk. So I don't know what's happening.
Maybe he bought his microphone at the same place you bought yours.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, Dave, what's going on with that. I mean, you could try to unplug it. Do you have you could try to unplug and plug back in. I'm not sure if you're doing it just on your computer or how you're doing it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But
how about now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
All right.
So I forgot what we were talking about, Rob. Do you remember? But this is a very technical.
My kids call me 10-second Tom.
The one thing I wanted to address, Dave, because I know we're getting to our time limit of where we're trying to keep these podcasts down to. Well, one thing I wanted that I've heard many times from a pool service guys, when I've mentioned ozone to them in the past, a lot of them have said that ozone is overkill for the backyard pool. Can you just I mean, obviously, there's people that can afford ozone systems. It's a whole different scenario than probably the general consumer. But can you just speak really quickly about when someone says ozone is overkill for a backyard pool? How would you respond to that?
I don't understand what they're trying to say. I mean, is 10 parts per million of chlorine overkill for a pool? In most cases, probably. Overkill is a value judgment. And the thing with ozone, my systems are not cheap. They're very expensive, and they're for a very specific market. People who are very health conscious, some people who have chemical sensitivities or have kids with health problems that chlorine and chlorine byproducts make their life difficult. So it's not for everybody, but I think overkill is not really a word that applies.
Yeah, you see, I agree with Dave 100% on that. If I heard somebody say that, I would say that that's probably someone who does not understand how an ozone system works more than anything else, right? Because when you say something like that, people are like, oh, okay. But the fact of the matter is, there's no such thing as a limit to how safe your water is. If you want your friends and your pets and your family to be safe in your swimming pool, you should take any step that you can in order to make sure that water is clean, clear, and safe.
Yeah. I think too that it's their lack of confidence in being able to sell one to a consumer. They feel as though they don't understand them well enough to be able to talk about them intelligently, so they just say it's overkill. If somebody has never sold an ozone system or doesn't understand enough about it to be able to talk intelligently to a consumer about an ozone system, but may think it's a good fit based on what you just said, Dave, what steps should a person take at this time? Should they contact you or take a class?
I've got a number of guys all over the country right now that I'm working with and bringing them up to speed on ozone. There's a lot of really open-minded guys that I'm running into, and I love working with these guys and helping them and helping them promote it to their customers, because after all these years, I still think it's one of the most underutilized tools that we have to keep a pool clean. And I've got a limited time left before the
way to bring us down. Way to bring us down, Dave. It's so morbid. It's the morbid side. You look good though. You look really healthy. I
feel you look good. Healthy. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Florida. The one thing you remember what we used to do in the old days on the podcast, Michelle. We would ask just about everybody that came through that we talked to, when you're traveling, you spent hours on the trade show floor, you get back to your hotel room, or you're traveling with your family, you're on vacation. What is the level of likelihood that you're going to get into the hotel pool or spa at night? And there were a few that are like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll bring my test kit and I'll check the water first. But it was really appalling that at how few people in our industry have confidence in our own product. And I don't think that has radically changed. And I think, ozone is one of the tools that is way underutilized that could really move the needle in the right direction on that score.
What's your answer to that question, Rob?
Okay, so my answer is going to be the same as it's always been: 0.0. There is no chance on this planet you're going to get me into a hotel swimming pool. And there's even less chance than that I would have to be a dead body for somebody to get me into a hot tub at a hotel. Like, not going to happen.
Well,
ever. No way. No how.
Rob doesn't even drink the water. We don't even drink the water in the faucet or anything like that either.
Yeah. And I'm the same way there.
Yeah.
But now, if you knew that water had a powerful ozone system on it, the water was brilliantly clear. There was no foam in the spa. There was no, you had a high level of confidence that water was going to be pure. I think, most of us would at least consider it. I love being in hot water. We have a pool here at the apartment complex, and it has its good days and bad days, but I just love being in the sun and being in the water. And it's like, I can't.
If I owned a hot tub, it would have to be a one-man hot tub with a hermetically sealed lid with a biometric security system so that nobody could get in it other than myself.
All right.
That tells you right there who we're dealing with, Dave. So,
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. I'm broken. I'll be one of the million who admit it, right? That I'm broken.
I go to when our pool opens in South Dakota, that small town I'm from, they have a beautiful, beautiful pool. And I get in it every time. I don't ask. I don't test it. I just do it. And then I just don't think about it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it and have fun with the family. I'm not even going to worry about it. But I have got a rash from my friend Jessica in Denver. I should have said her name. Jessica, if I said your name, my bad. Her neighbor, I've gotten in their hot tub before, and I did get a rash from it.
Yeah.
Because I just said, I had a few drinks. I'm like, whatever. And then I got a rash. So no offense, guys.
See, I'm that nerd that when I travel, just like Dave was saying, I travel with a couple of bags of chlorine shock. I travel with I do, absolutely. I do. And I travel with test strips, the whole 9 yards, and there was one time I wanted to get into the resort swimming pool. There was nobody in it. I tested it. The chlorine level was like 10 plus. And it's like, okay, this one I will consider. Put my toe in, it was like 74 degrees. It's like, nope, so much for that. I got close once.
But yeah, you'll swim in the ocean. The
No, I
ocean,
won't.
probably some of those. You won't swim in the ocean either?
Nope, I don't do open water.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
I
Well,
mean,
Dave,
It's an
thank
interesting
you.
choice. Interesting choice
ahead.
of careers for somebody who's not
Isn't
a
it,
fan
though?
of water.
He gets in his own pool. He has a pool in his backyard, though. He does get in that one, so he gets to enjoy the beautiful
Okay.
2,
pool.
maybe 3 times a season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of
he
the
gets in
time I'm there monitoring it, checking it before people come in to pollute it, and checking
He's
to see
got
how
the
badly
whistle
they
out.
polluted
He's
it
got the
afterwards.
whistle out. He's giving people their don't running, stop running. Quit doing that. He's probably one of those people.
Right.
No, that's where the beer fridge comes in. So you can run and fall and cut yourself as much as you want. So this
I
summer,
hear
my
ya.
goals are for my swimming pool to put a shower, an outdoor shower, because I don't have one of those. So my goal is to put one of those in. But again, because I'm old, it's got to be a heated shower. So there no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I'm going to put that in. It's part of my plan.
Yes. Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. It was very
Well,
nice
thanks for
talking
having
to
me.
you. Again, it was like old homework week for me. We did it all
Yeah.
through. We started during the COVID, right? Didn't we start? Was
Yeah.
it 2019
Oh, yeah.
we started? I can't remember.
Right in the thick of it.
Yeah. So we did 81 episodes or 80 episodes, something like that. And,
Yeah.
you know,
We had a lot of
kick
fun.
ourselves.
We learned a
We didn't-
lot. We always wanted to get people that were the smartest people in their particular little corner of the industry. And I think we did a really good job of exposing people to people that they probably normally wouldn't get a chance to hear from or
Yes. It was
so,
nice
yeah,
that
it
I
was
knew all
fun.
the researchers from the World Aquatic Health Conference because we
that
invited a lot of them on.
was huge. You
And
know.
that was like big for us. So I really enjoyed it. So thanks so much. We'll have you back again in the future. You know, we'll talk about some other things going on, but we really appreciate you being here.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rob.
Always a pleasure, Dave. We've only ever met the one time before, but it was great to see you again for sure.
Right on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
A new voice in the industry, a resource for all, education for you. This is Pool Pro Podcast. Build relationships and share important news as we get ready for our next backyard adventure. Pool Pro Podcast. Backyard adventures are better together. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.